relationships are your most valuable asset, I think, as humans. So, like, it never forget that, I think. But if you think that your ability to do work is the thing that will separate you from the machines, you're completely wrong. Like AI and specifically like GPT transformer AI in a way, it can do like 100 IQ work for free, like basically for free.
Hi, I'm Adam Gower, founder of GowerCrowd.com, where we help real estate syndicators find more investors. Welcome to the Easy Win AI Real Estate Show, exploring AI's impact on the real estate industry. Each episode offers practical tools, competitive AI strategies, and expert insights. For essential news and updates, visit easywin.ai and sign up for our free newsletter with actionable how-tos like how I added hours to my day by creating this clone of me you're watching and listening to right now. easywin.ai, the only newsletter you need on real estate and AI. All right, back to the real me. My guest today is Clifton Harness, who is CEO and co-founder of TestFit.io. I came across Clifton on LinkedIn because he likes to post some really cool images of the software that he has developed. The platform is developed there at testfit.io. And what they do essentially is they will look at any patch of land and create for you a design that is optimized for whatever criteria you have to develop real estate, whatever is driving your investment thesis. You can plug it into TestFit and he will map that onto any site that you want him to take a look at. It's highly visual, extremely easy to use, saves hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in pre-development costs, and is absolutely fascinating. So you're going to hear from Clifton today how it works, where it came from, and what the benefits are of using TestFit. If you've not already subscribed to my newsletter, go to gowercrowd.com, hit the subscribe button. It's a big red button on the homepage there, and you'll see some of the companies that our subscribers work for right there as well. You'll be in good company. Go ahead, subscribe at gowercrowd.com. All right. Clifton Harness, here he is, TestFit, CEO and co-founder of TestFit, coming right up. Clifton, very nice to meet you at last. I see you on LinkedIn all the time, and that's where I learned about TestFit. So why don't we just kick off with a question that I have for you that comes from your website, actually, your homepage. You talk about, you'd say, maximize site potential and get the right deals done faster with TestFit's real-time AI for rapid iterations. Okay. How do you do, what is that? How do you do it?
It's like a corporate word salad, man. Like we do everything with that, right? So maximizing the potential of land is what we do in real estate. Like that's the core. I mean, if you're like anyone doing capex, I guess in real estate, I should qualify. So you have some land, you do some improvements to it, and you want a return on that. Okay, well, there are literally 10 million things you can do with any given piece of land. And so our goal is to give ideas if you don't have any ideas, sharpen your ideas if you do have them, and generate good ideas if that's what we want to do. And so the kind of technology that we've built is a real-time generative design tool, a kind of computational AI that can process through 25,000 different site plans given different kinds of building types, different kinds of mixes of building types, even different kinds of parking ratios, different kinds of parking strategies. Is it surface parked? Is it structure parked? Is it a 2-bay garage, 3-bay garage? Do I limit my surface parking to 2 bays only? And running through all of these different possible scenarios to present to the user possibilities. Or the kind of where we've really cut our teeth over the last 7 years is working with people that have very specific investment thesis, like saying, I only do 250 units in Sunbelt cities, and we only structure park them. And we're really not interested in, 3-story walk-ups that don't show us any of that kind of stuff. Like we can filter down to that level of investment thesis for people and only present site plans that follow that kind of input. And then on the architecture side, which is a very healthy kind of portion of our customer base, TestFit's a very powerful design tool, enables them to plug in specific unit types, specific unit plans to craft architecture if they need to. But a lot of these architects we work with are operating at scale. They're doing, 10 to 20 site plans a month and have a lot of demand from the real estate world. So does that explain the word salad well enough, Adam?
Yeah, I think so. I've got some more questions there, obviously. But so do users of TestFit bring their own sites to you and their own criteria? Or do you help them identify sites that fit their criteria?
It depends on how they work. Um, Lots of people are networked with brokers and, kind of have feelers that way and they source sites that way. Um, Lots of other people are looking at submarkets and demographic data, or they'll use a site selection database, CoStar, or whatever, to sort of get ideas about places where to do things. And then that can reveal like specific parcels, and TestFit has a parcel, tool that you can review parcels. So it can be used for site selection, but I wouldn't say that, we process every single site in the whole country and tell you what to do. Not it's not feasible to design a building for. It's not feasible to do a highest and best use building for every single site when no one knows what highest and best use even is, I guess, to try to answer that question. So it's on demand. What site do you have? We'll generate information for it.
And to what extent do you incorporate zoning data when you analyze the sites? How do you do that?
So it depends on a lot of factors. We have a zoning data partner in Zonomics, which they are capturing real time people like searching for zoning in Arizona near Scottsdale, but there's like a hole in the database, so we got to go call like a city planner in Scottsdale to go figure out why this sub block doesn't show up, right? So we've got a partner that's doing all that for us that we've been working with for about a year. Um, on the other side, a lot of the development people that we work with are pretty well versed in their specific zoning codes or their submarkets that they're active in. Um, so we provide other sort of manual tools that they can just plug in that information, and they don't need to go rely on a national database of zoning information. And then we also are able to filter results by zoning information. So please don't show me anything that exceeds allowable FAR or something like that. Though I will be quick to say, like, a lot of the value that I see developers create are in entitlements. So like maybe ignoring zoning is what a lot of you guys want to do. So, or maybe you want to know just how bad you are in violation of zoning so that you can know the relative severity of the ask you're about to go ask for. So that information's available in app for people that buy the zoning data subscription.
So what are the biggest benefits then that users get from using TestFit? How would you articulate that?
Well, for me, when I was working in development, I spent a lot of time doing rapid prototyping of site plans following a very specific investment thesis. It's these kinds of units, it's this unit average, it's this level of finish, um, it's this level of craft, whatever. And I ended up spending 40 to 50% of my time mitigating parking. So, like, is it worth a single real estate's professionals 20s to mitigate parking on 5 deals and to spend an inordinate amount of time doing that? Yeah, probably. That's great to mitigate parking. Um, but when you sit back and you think, wow, like everybody is doing this problem across the entire industry just so that they can be able to do like part of a deal. And part of our story is like we focus on optimizing and eliminating parking stalls, like our core value to the industry. And yeah, like that's where I find our value and where I always point back to is like parking. How can you improve it? How can you mitigate it? Our current customers, they have other, very specific site plan problems that they're trying to solve, a specific form set that they've, spent $1 million on. They want to use it every single site they go on. Yeah, I'm not sure if that answered your question.
Kind of going off topic a little bit, but as you talk about parking, is there, it wasn't that long ago that folk were predicting that parking would become redundant as autonomous vehicle. You could just, you use your phone to call an app or to use an app to call some, uh,
Yep.
right, some robo taxi comes, picks you up, drops you off, and then goes and picks up somebody
Yep.
else. And that folk don't actually own cars anymore.
Yeah.
It seems like that's significantly less likely than it was some years ago. But is there a trend to less parking these days?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So what do
Yeah. I
you
mean,
see?
they're
Yeah,
eliminating mandatory minimums. I mean, there's whole generations of yuppies that are Ubering. Well, I'm saying whole generations. I don't know, like 3% of people are now just exclusively Ubering. Like
right.
it's probably not enough to tip the scales to like exponential real estate value change yet, but I think in my lifetime, what you'll see is parking become less valuable because it will be a live fleet, moving people around. And you'll also see car ownership drop off. But what you'll also have is, unfortunately, dual infrastructure, for both of these systems to exist at the same time while we phase out of everybody owning and needing a car. Well, at least in the US, like if here's the most cost effective way to live is to own a car. Fortunately. Uh, so how do you phase that out? Well, it's, not going to be easy. It might be a couple of, you know, a whole generation at a time to get there. Um,
Are you seeing any parking structure designs that are oriented to multiple uses, like the possibility that parking will reduce, that it can be converted into something else?
Yeah, I think every time we see like a precast garage get built that can be basically torn down and or replaced with something because it was precast, carted away. The 5/2 podiums, I'm a bit worried about because you got a lot of ramps and a lot of complexity in there that
Right.
I don't really feel as future proof. But again, like people listening, my comments are like, hey, what's the real estate world look like in 15 years from now when you can get dead on a building that doesn't have any parking in Texas or something, right? Like, what does the market look like then?
Who's your avatar? Who is your user avatar, Clifton?
My user
Yeah,
avatar,
yeah, like for TestFit, who's the ideal user? What's that person look like?
like a really frustrated development director that's frankly gone through too many site plans and needs you know to get to the bottom of it on a couple of them. And then the same development director that needs to do about 25 to 30 iterations on the same site with his architect or without, before that thing goes to investment committee, where you're tinkering with everything, transformer location, amenity location, sequencing, through how people are going to move in and where the trash is, all that kind of tinkering, you know.
Well, what is the process for using TestFit by a user? And what are they like? How does that actually work? Actually, after we record it, I'd like to talk about maybe doing a demo, but just for for the radio audience, listen,
Yeah.
how
Yeah, I
how does
mean,
somebody
it depends on what your budget is and what you're trying to get out of it. So for free, you can use most of our tools that, just drawing tools. You can get 3D kind of building drawn, and we'll tell you how big it is. Beyond that, there's, parking automation where we're drawing entire parking lots with, the lowest possible stall average. Um, there's, full-fledged configurators where you've got lots of building that needs to get generated, and 300,000 feet is kind of the size that you need to hit like about $50 million, which is sort of what the bank wants to see, or like what they're willing to look at. Um, and so like there's just a sort of uh, a rise in requirements based off of, what the demand is from the user.
what are the inputs that users have to put into TestFit to get the results that they need?
Yeah, so if you have a survey, you can plug in the meets and bounds. If you have satellite imagery, if you know where the lat lawn is or the address, we have satellite imagery. You can just draw on top of it. If it's related to a parcel or a legal, boundary that's in a GIS database, we can pull from that. Um, we allow users to do assemblage creation pretty easily, so you can kind of change your site basis rather quickly. But all it takes is the input of a site, and then once we have a site, we can generate, you know, 20,000 different things.
Permutations. So,
Yeah.
so a user presumably puts in their requirements, but the results that
Hmm.
you deliver, they're visualizations, aren't they, Clifton? Just
Yeah.
like that.
Yep. Full 3D buildings and site plans in most cases.
How do you use AI?
We do not use like LLM AI or large language model AI or the kind of stuff that OpenAI or ChatGPT is using. We use computational AI, which is way to describe it is configurator. Like imagine you're really good at drawing a parking lot as a professional, like I was. I sat down with the software engineer and I described how I would draw parking lots, and he wrote out logically, um, in software, the logical steps that he would take to draw that parking lot. And then after, call it 7 years, six major revisions, 20,000 users touching parking, you come to a pretty good idea about what, that parking algorithm needs to look like. And that's the computational AI that we build, is based off of experience and human intelligence.
So, what is the story behind TestFit? Like spin back in time. How did you come to decide to build that? What's been the path to building it?
Yeah. So let's see, architecture degree in college. My dad's a garden apartment guy, and I kind of was like, Dad, I'm gonna try to convince you to do some structured parking, or some new urbanism. Like I kind of had a kind of a bent. I was like, have you ever tried harder on buildings? And man, did I get smacked down. You go to college, you learn just how hard it is to build buildings, and then you go. I did some internships in real estate development where, was these really expensive structured parking deals, and wow, the complexity was absurd. And so I'm talking to my dad about, like, all this complexity is absurd, and he's like, yeah, I was trying to warn you, like, it's a lot harder to make, you know, high IRRs consistently when you're doing skyscrapers, Clifton. So yeah, I fell in love with deal making kind of at the intersection of like real estate development and architecture and construction and you know loved that, and there just wasn't great software for it. Like we were using Excel and we're
Right.
using AutoCAD and uh, five different people in five different departments weighing in on disjointed sort of Microsoft Word documents to get synced up, and all of that body of work. If the deal moved forward, like was supposed to springboard into like a full due diligence checklist being kind of cleared, and none of it was fast or efficient. And the site planning process was the slowest thing of them all, was getting a site plan back.
And that was typically you would do that with an architect. That you would rely on architects primarily for that, would you?
Uh, in the firms that I was working for,
Or was it internal?
we would rely on external architects. And then eventually when it was learned that I was pretty good at drawing, like it was insourced. We would just do it internally.
And do are
Um,
architects a primary target for you then? Do they use TestFit?
yeah, they do. Yeah, architects and developers, core customers. But the architects are the ones that are operating at scale. They're doing 10, 20 site plans a month or a week, some of them. And the development guys are the guys that are tinkering and taking design risks, some of them.
And are you what are you outputting? Are you outputting kind of uh just kind of general designs that like what is the output that an architect can use? How do they use the outputs that you deliver actually?
Yeah, so TestFit is in and of itself a design software. So they can continue to use TestFit to design, into schematic design, different parts of the building. Um, we output PDF site plan like that you can use to communicate with others. We also have a web page that you can generate. Like you can share a link that creates a 3D sort of model, and you can send people to the 3D model.
Mm.
Um, that also includes sort of the quantity takeoff, and here's how much stuff is in this building. So the output is portable. Here's the site plan. Here's the test fit, if you will, for this deal.
And is there much of a learning curve to using the platform?
Uh, just like with all things, it's on a normal distribution. Like if you spend an hour getting to know how to use it, you will be better off than the people that don't spend any time at all. But then after 20 hours of using it, you're going to be a whole lot closer to being an expert. I would say that with every release, we try to make it easier to use. And this year we had two pretty big releases where the user experience was focused on like not being absolutely horrible for our users for the first time. So I mean, you can get in and try to generate a building and tell me if you're able to do it.
So what have been the biggest challenges for you? Actually, when did you found TestFit? Looks like 2017, is that right? So it's been a while.
Yeah, so my co-founder Ryan Grieg and I founded the company in, I want to say 2016 was when we like made the LLC to put the intellectual property into. But then we didn't really start. I didn't start working full time on it until 2017. And then when we shipped the first thing we did in 2017, it was like a wrap generator. Like it only did a Texas donut basically. And there were five or six people that bought it, and that's like that was enough for me to afford rent like for 1 month. So you sort of have to, I don't know, grow very slowly, sort of brick by brick, and then here we are 7 years later, venture backed, got 30 employees. We're shipped probably I think 55 or 56 updates of the software in that time. Um, Over 5,000 active users. It's going very well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. So you've done venture backing. What's the kind of, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but what's the What's the plan for TestFit? If it's venture backed, presumably they want to see you build it, generate ongoing revenues, and sell it. How do you?
Yeah. Yeah. So, Ryan and I, we started as a sort of bootstrap business. And then,
Mm.
whenever we got to a place where we could afford our own lives, it was like, okay, what do you want to do next? And then you move the goalposts, right? Uh, so here we are, two guys, many years later, a lot more power, a lot more confidence, and frankly, like a corporation with like really incredible employees that are dedicated, to seeing this thing grow. And then we have, just the paying customer amounts like crazy. Like we have sort of in some cases like a really good cult following, where people are obsessed with how they're using it. So yeah, I mean VC they would like 10x return, and that's what VC, that's sort of their goal. I wouldn't have, if I thought that was the ceiling, yeah, I feel like we can do a whole lot more than 10x. This is real estate, like takes a long time to disrupt it, but
Do you ever see opportunities that you're inclined to develop yourself that you just think, oh my goodness, look, there's an incredible opportunity, missed opportunity here?
uh, there are so many deals that we get to see. Like we're lucky, if you're into real estate development and you're like you want to work somewhere cool, come work at TestFit, because like you'll get maybe in a week five different developers all looking at the same site, and they come to you and they're like, hey, like what can we do here? And you're like, I don't know. um I've seen some really cool deals where, you're like, man, I wish I wouldn't have spent all this time building technology. Sometimes I go
Really? Sorry.
sometimes like when I'm touring like the Pro Brewery in San Antonio, I'm like, I have such a nostalgic desire just to go like build something real, like with your hands, and software is this thing that it never ends, like with 55 updates or whatever, like we're continuously improving it. Like at some point you get that building to like stability and it's like you're good, and there's some kind of finality to it. Like the finality would be nice, but I don't know.
Oh,
I'm
oh,
really enjoying it right now, actually.
well, that's the most important thing. You've got to love what you do, right? At the end of the day. So, what have been the biggest challenges to building TestFit?
I would say endurance, for me has been a challenge.
Endurance in what way, Clifton?
It's just like you're a millennial and you think like the world should change every 3 minutes, and like that you're God's gift to the world. And then, after 7 years of like 3% of people will actually close the sale with you, it's like, well, maybe I'm not God's gift to the world, and
Mm.
maybe I do have a lot more empathy to learn. And then you start hiring people that like really understand, and they're like, hey, like we need a system that does this, and we need to support our customers in this way. And your mind grows, and that's, I think, really valuable. Is like, I'm a first time founder. Well, I'm lucky to get this far.
How do you market TestFit? What are the most effective ways of getting the message out there?
Yeah. So we've got two main ways is people telling each other, um, like word of mouth, one developer to another, probably the most secure way to get a very quick sale,
Mm.
at least from my experience. And like developers are reclusive. Like, I mean, I think that's the audience for this. Like, you guys don't make yourselves very easy to like go sell software to.
Well, so
Yeah.
explain that a little bit. Why? What's your experience of that?
Well, it's like the development guys they're like managing lots of consultants, and they value their time and their energy like in a different way. And,
Mm.
they don't want to waste their energy or their time. And they're skeptical too, because if you start cutting into their overhead, you really start to hurt their ability to deploy capital from a fund, or they're very not they're not going to spend a bunch of money on software they don't need. So like,
Hang on a second. So I'm just going to interrupt you this, but isn't the value prop essentially of TestFit that yes, there's an initial cost, but it saves money, right?
oh yeah, yeah, it is.
So
But
to
you're
articulate that,
competing in some cases with like their architect that they went to college with, like, oh, good luck. But in other cases, like, they perhaps designed the same building like a year ago, and they're just gonna go grab the CD set they used a year ago. Um, like, they're clever and they're not gonna waste their time and money and energy, right? So you have to have a really good value for them, which is why we've stayed successful, I think, is with selling the value that we're creating with parking and with automation. Um, yeah. So I mean, there's a high bar for like for them to focus on you. And yeah, so the one way is, developers talking to each other, and the other way is social media. Like,
mm.
you, you know, uh, if they're interested in getting on LinkedIn, they like you might see some of our content.
And do you do paid advertising or paid marketing as well?
No. We do some ads actually on LinkedIn. Like, we were trying it out,
Yeah, how did that
but
work out?
abysmal. It was terrible. Yeah,
Hmm.
was not a
But
good conversion for us.
yeah, LinkedIn is very tough for paid advertising. We've certainly found that. But it sounds like your t the gateway uh to users is the architectural world. Is that not right? Or going straight to developers also helps?
I think it depends on who it is. If you're in a top 25 development shop, like, you're not going to have a hard time getting free architectural services from anywhere. Um, if you're in the long tail and you're doing 2 deals a year, like, architects might be wary of giving you, $30,000 of free site planning. In that case, we're very, very competitive, and we've helped a lot of people. And you know, even on the architecture side, like, they will come together as a team and buy the software together and say, like, we're sick of literally wasting a bunch of time. I mean, that's the deal team. Like, when the deal team comes as a unit, that's really impressive in my mind.
What is the revenue? What is your revenue model? How do you charge for the service?
We have a few different ways. Right now, the vast majority of our revenue, I think, is seat based, where it's, one seat or two seats in a company. And most development shops are not, 30 or 40 or 50 people. So it's a couple people.
Mm.
Um, on the architecture side, we'll sell, a pipeline based approach where, you can get unlimited users, but um, only about 2,000 units in usage or something, because they're doing much deeper sort of detail.
When you say units, that implies multifamily. Is that right?
Sure, yeah, it depends on what you're, if you're doing units, it's multifamily. You do keys. It was hotel. I think in industrial, we do it by the 1,000 feet. Retails by the 1,000 feet.
Okay.
Um, but that's if you're only going to be doing paying by the 1,000 feet if you're like in the top 5, 10 people doing that kind of building in the country. So um, most people, it's just one or two seats that we're really selling.
And then that's unlimited use, is it? Or that also has unlimited
Yeah,
use?
unlimited use. Yeah.
You have any case studies, any examples of how people have really benefited from using TestFit?
Yeah. There's a architecture firm where Malcolm, they're, moderately sized. I think we save them 300 or $400,000 a year, just in sort of initial efforts. And that's an architecture firm. So that's like
Mm.
5 full-time employees or something. It's like an absurd value for them. And then we have another one with Resia. It's a developer out of Florida. In 2022, I think they were like 2,000 units a year. They went very, very hard, very vertical, very fast. For workforce, they're doing about 9,000 units a year now. And I don't know what's in the case study, but I feel at this point we've saved them millions of dollars, and just bad site plans, because they're trying to test everything. I think.
Well, kind of explain that to me. When you say trying to test everything, what do you mean by that? How does TestFit short circuit that process?
Well, sure. So they're very specific investment thesis, right? They want only to look at sites that are maybe between 10 and 12 acres in tertiary markets. And it's like I want to say an 8-story walk-up sort of construction type, but they've done a whole lot of it in prefab, so it's very economical. And they just go vertical and they apply that, site plan to any site that they would like to look at. And they get a result. And they'll know the 15 landowners they need to go after and in a submarket within an afternoon.
God, that's incredible. Within a submarket. So you can look at, but again, they bring you all the sites that they're looking at, or if they say,
They're doing their own stuff. I'm just sort of this is the story that I've heard. Um, like they have their own people doing their own work, but the investment thesis is what I said, and they're using TestFit to churn through, an incredible number of units, like millions, maybe, to get to the 10,000 they're going to build.
God, that's really fascinating. Do you ever have the opportunity to invest with any of the deals that you see? So, I mean, it sounds like some of them are like killer deals.
I don't have any liquidity. I'm like a first time founder. It's all locked up in TestFit, man. So no, I don't invest yet. One day, maybe.
Uh, Clifton, I did say 20 to 30 minutes. I can't believe how fast actually that has gone. Let me ask you three sign-off questions. Now I've got something
Sure.
offline to ask you. So the three questions I always ask my guests is the first one, why should real estate professionals, we did talk about AI, just touch the surface a little bit, but why should real estate pros be paying attention to AI and to prop tech, for want of a better term, today?
Yeah, well, relationships are your most valuable asset, I think, as humans. So, like, never forget that, I think. But if you think that your ability to do work is the thing that will separate you from the machines, you're completely wrong. Like, AI and specifically like GPT transformer AI in a way, it can do like 100 IQ work for free, like basically for free. Um, if it's $20 a month in my mind, that's free, right? So that should be it. Can I use the F word? That should be F word terrifying, right?
Yes.
Uh, yeah.
It's funny. The F word. I'm not one to use expletives very much, but every time I see stuff in AI, just think that is F word amazing. It's like it just
Yeah.
comes out natural. I'm not sure quite why. All right. So in your daily use of AI, how do you
Mhm.
use it?
Well, I'm a disjointed thinker. So I'm doing I have this blog. It's called onlyplans.io. Don't comment on the name, but it's got 40-ish posts about me where I'm working with ChatGPT on a problem, and like I'm trying to get to a place where I can generate a kitchen automatically with a chat GPT script. Because I'm also trying to convince the architecture industry and a bunch of other people, like, I think we should look more into this technology. Like, it's pretty crazy what it can do. Yeah, so I kind of chronicle this journey on my blog, Only Plans, and there's like, I'm talking about cabinets with it, and I talk about adjacencies of the different appliances with it, and then we eventually build a little cabinet generator or a kitchen generator together. So it's nerdy if you're into that kind of thing.
But you're using ChatGPT for that?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh gosh, I'll have to take a look at that. Openplan.io. Only
Onlyplans.io.
plans.
Yeah.
Sorry, only plans. All right, last question. For somebody who has not really experimented, I mean, that's, it's not nerdy, it's really cool actually. But for somebody who's never really tried any of the LLMs and hasn't really played with it, to understand the power, what could they do that would be just give them a kind of a eureka moment, an easy win? Any thoughts that something as soon as they stop listening and open up their computer, what would be a really
All right, so we're talking like real estate development people here. Hey, ChatGPT, generate for me a cash flow model tool that generates an IRR and give me some sliders to like allocate, when I'm gonna have lease up or not. And um yeah, it'll generate a prototype. Like it could generate a pro forma maybe even if you gave it more assumptions even. But you just tell it generate this in HTML and make it a web page, and it'll you can download the web page and open it up, and holy crap, there's your IRR generator with some sliders. Like it astonished me, and I'm trying to educate people internally at TestFit about financial constraints, and ChatGPT has been really helpful in giving me visual tools to do that.
what's a slider?
Like on a web page where you go from 0% all the way to
Oh, I
100%.
see. Okay.
Yeah, so like in it's like on Google Maps, you can change the opacity. So that's a slider. Yeah.
Got it, got it. Clifton Harness, CEO and co-founder of TestFit. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, my pleasure, Adam. Thank you.
All right, that was Clifton Harness, who's CEO and co-founder of TestFit. I am going to follow up, all being well, and put together some demos of the platform so you can visualize and see exactly what it is that they do and how they help sponsors, architects, developers, etc. save money and build the most optimal buildings that they possibly can, developments they possibly can, given any particular piece of land. Clifton, what a pleasure meeting you. Thanks so much for joining me. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I do look forward to following up. And thank you too, dear viewers, for joining today. It's nice to have you here with us. And if you've not already done so, go ahead and subscribe to my weekly newsletter that covers the world of capital raising for real estate sponsors, enhanced by AI, and brings to you some of the leaders of the industry like Clifton Harness today that you may not have otherwise come across. All there at gowercrowd.com. Just hit the subscribe button. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, it's Adam Gower signing off.